Okay, good evening to you all. Today is our day 45 of this 3-month data analytics bootcamp. Like I said, this bootcamp will last for about 3 months, and today is our day 45. Like always, we start by showing our outlines. That is what we are to cover for the day. So we'll have a recap on what we did yesterday. And also today we are going to talk about constraints in SQL. And we're also going to talk about primary and foreign keys. Then we'll talk about SQL statement, creating a database, creating a table, and inserting data that is into the database. Then we'll have question and answer, conclusion, and call it a day. So we have much to cover, even though it's not that much. So, but these are our outlines. That is what exactly we are going to talk about. But from 1 to 4, we're going to treat them uh, here in Excel. Then maybe from 5 to 7, then um, we are going to the our SQL SSMS, and we talk about it there. So let's talk about what we did yesterday. If you can recall, yesterday you see you understand the data types that we have in SQL, which the varchar, the char, that is variable character, and the character. We talk about the plots, we talk about the Boolean. All these are the different types of um, data that we have in SQL. We also talk about the interface of the management studio that we are going to work with. That is the server. We connect it, you see how it is, and I take you through everything related to that. And we also talk about the commands that we have in SQL, which all the commands we are going to learn, they will fall under one of the 5 different types of commands that SQL has. So I believe you understand it, and I dropped the video of the class in the group, which I believe you rewatch the class and you understand more about what we discussed. So today we are going to talk about constraints in SQL. We're going to talk about this. So constraints are like additional information or additional requirements, or you can say additional statement or rule that you are given to a particular data type. Yesterday, I told you that when you are creating a data type, especially the string, that is the character and the variable character, you are to specify whatever data that you are creating. If you like, you can specify amount of data you want that particular uh, data type to contain or to collect from the users. So we talk about that. So these constraints are additional rules or information you passed while creating your columns or tables. For example, now I create something, I just create it, I call it, for example, I say varchar, I say varchar, then open bracket, I put 255. In front of it, I can add a constraint. So one of the most commonly used constraint that we are using, that you might be seeing it, one of them is not null. You will see it not null. That is NUONOT NULL. That is not null. It means not empty. When you create a column that you put that constraint of not null in it, it can never be empty. It must have a data in it. Nobody can insert something in it or can save data in it when the key or when the column that you create, you put a not null for it. So you put it in addition. We are going to talk about all this. Don't worry, I'm explaining all this to you. We are going to practice it today. Since we are going to create the database, the table, and whatever, we're going to do that. Don't worry, I'm just explaining all this. Then another one that we have, apart from not null, we also have unique key. Unique key is another constraint that we have, which means once you insert a data, you cannot repeat the same data when you declare that field at what? As unique key. So please you understand this. These are the two constraints that I want you to understand and to put at the back of your mind. We are going to use some of this today. And another thing that I want you to understand is like it's like data validation. I talked about it yesterday. It's like data validation. When you the first one I talk about the characters is the number of characters that you want it to contain. I told you is when we create a length, we put that. So we put now another one, uniqueness, and also not null. We don't want it to be empty. It must contain a data. So these are the two things that I will discuss about this constraint here. Then we're going to talk about primary key and foreign key. Primary and foreign key also, they are constraints, but I separate them just to explain more about them. I want you to understand them more. Even these primary keys and foreign key, they are constraints. Primary key, you declare it, but foreign key, you don't need to declare it. This primary key, it means in every data, there is a primary key, and that primary key is the unique ID of that particular data. That's why I told you when we are doing Excel that serial number is not a serial the way people think 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just making things to be serial. It's a unique identity in most of the data. If you didn't have unique identity, serial number stand for that. That's why most of the standard way of writing it, you will see people, they are writing serial number as 001, 002, 003, like that, because it's not a serial number the way you think. It's just a what? Is a unique identity. So in a table, any column that you want to be declared as your unique identity, you declare it as a primary key. So in front of that, maybe 255, again, you put not null. Again, you can declare it to be what? You can declare it to be primary key. And you cannot have two primary keys in your table. It's only one of them is that's going to be a primary key. Like I told you, in every data, there must be a primary key. That is, there must be a unique column that contain a unique identity. That means what is inside that column, it can never appear in any column again, because it's the unique identity is what differentiates between the entire data. That will differentiate the entire data. For example, when we talk about maybe BVN number, there is no way two people will have two BBN number, or two people to have two account number, or two people to have maybe uh, a NIN number, for example. But there are other things that can never be a primary key. For example, you cannot make a column of gender to be a primary key. Because if you make it a primary key, it means you are only going to have one male, one female, because there's going to be a lot of males and females. Even phone number, you cannot declare phone number to be a primary key. You can have a one household that are using 10 people are using one single phone number. So there are things, even names, you cannot use names as unique as a primary key. Why? Because you can have another Ahmad Amin or Ahmad somewhere, you can have the same name in another state. So this is what primary key is all about. So for the foreign key is a key that appear to be unique identity in another table. It's not a primary key here, but it appears to be a primary key in another data. But in this data is not a primary key. That word foreign key means it's a key that appears here and appeared there. There is a primary key, but here is a foreign key, is not a primary key. For example, that's when you have two different tables. So since it is a relational database, I told you already, It has multiple tables in it. Consider it in Excel as sheets. It has a lot of sheets. So maybe in sheet 1 and sheet 2, I'll give you an example. Maybe in sheet 1 and sheet 2. Let's say in sheet 1, we have ID, or let me call it, we have NIN number, we have full name, we have states, and we have local governments. I'm just explaining. So our primary key, we declared the primary key to be the NIN number. In the table 2, that is sheet 2, we have a table that we have BVN number, we have full name, then we have NIN number. So let's say we don't have full name. We have BVN number, we have NIN number, and we have account details. For example, account number, bank name, and whatever. So here, if you look at this, you'll understand that in table 1, what we have as a primary key in table 1 is our what? NIN number. And in table 2, that NIN number appeared, is the only column that appeared in table 2, but it didn't appear as a what? Primary key in table 2. Is the table 2 has its own primary key, which is the BBN number. But still there is what? NIN number in table 2. So here, in these two tables that we have, NIN number becomes a foreign key within the two tables. That's what it means. That's what foreign key is all about. The connector that connects two or more tables is the foreign key. So when the tables are given to you, you look at them clearly. What is the connector? There must be a connector between them. You need to figure that connector in them, and if there is no connector, fine and good. You just go ahead and merge the two tables. But if there is a connector, then you are going to find the two. For example, now, since I have a NIN number in this table as a primary key, I have NIN number, full name, local government, and LG, table 1. In table 2, I have BVN, and I have a NIN number, I have account number, bank name, and the rest. So let's say I want to bring out the full name of somebody from this table 1, and also I want to get his account number from table 2. In table 2, we don't have full name. So in table 1, we have full name, while in table 2, we don't have full name. So how are we going to get that? Is for us to use the foreign key that is inside table 1 and in table 2, which is what? A NIN number. So we are going to use that NIN number for us to get this data that we need to merge together between, we want to compile the data together, that is the full name of this person and his account number. So they are in two different tables and they have two different data, but something that connect them together is what? Is the NIN. So we're going to use the NIN number for us to track or to know the full name and to know the what? And for us to know the account number of that person. Please understand this. They are also part of the constraint that you declared in what? In SQL. I told you don't declare foreign key. You only declare primary key, and primary key has to be 1. You can never have 2 primary keys. Okay. So another thing, we are going to talk about SQL statement. Let's talk about this statement of SQL. Why are we discussing about this SQL statement? The reason is that you need to know how to write SQL statements. I told you even yesterday, I think I talked about that SQL statement, the commands, you write them in capital letter, and whenever you are done with your with your statement or with your query, you end it with semicolon. You put the semicolon at the end of each and every query. If you want to execute it, you can click at the end of it and execute, or you can highlight what you want to execute and you execute. So we talked about it yesterday. I believe you know that. So now we are going to start to talk about the rest. That is to talk about how to create the database. Then we start using the database. We create a table today, and we learn how to insert data into the table. That's what we are going to do now. So let's go there and see. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Yesterday I updated my this thing. Okay, so here we are. So now we are going to create a database. We are going to create a database. That's what we are going to start. I already told you we are going to write a query and uh create a database. Even though yesterday I showed you how to do that, but today we are going to do that. So the first thing is for you to click on this new query. Just click on this new query. It's going to open the blank page that I told you yesterday. As you can see, this is it. We just click this, and this is how we do that. So now we are going to create the database. We are going to create the database. So the first thing you are going to write is just create. I told you yesterday, you are just going to write create. You are going to write create. That's what we are going to do. So just click on create. Just write it on your keyboard, not click on it. You put create. I told you immediately when you create any query in it, is going to turn to green. Definitely is going to turn to that. It's going to turn to that. So this is it. It shows us what? It shows us blue color now as we write create. Okay, so now the next thing is for us to what? For us to tell it what do we want to create? What do we want to create? That's what we are going to see. What we want to create database. So just click on write database. That's what we want. So the next thing we are going to tell it is the name of the database that we want to create. The name of the database that we want to create. So how are we going to do it? We are going to write the name. So don't write the name in capital letter, please. If you like, write it in small letter or in proper. For example, I say, let me just create maybe Hamad Technologies. Or let me say this. If you are to create a database, please don't start with number. Don't put a space. Please don't do all that. There are rules in creating this, so you can start with you can, if you want to put a space, then you create you put underscore. If you want to use two names in it, use underscore for this. Please, are you seeing my screen? Okay, someone say I should zoom. Yeah, I saw some your message. Okay. Okay, please, I'm sorry. It's just I have to attend to something also. I'm sorry, please. Can you see what we are doing? Can you see it now? Please, if you can see it, let me know. Can you see it? Let me know if you can see it now. I zoom it out for you, so I believe you can all see it. Is it okay now? Okay. So when I create this, then I'm going to put the semicolon at the end. Then I'll click execute. If I want, just click on execute. So like I told you yesterday, okay, don't worry. Yesterday we create this Hamad database. Don't worry. Let me just create something. Let's create techno. Okay, we have some database. So I'm sorry, let's just delete them since we create all this. So let's just delete them, please. I'm sorry. Let's click delete them. Okay, so now when you create this, let me just create a mat, for example, then I'll execute. Like I told you yesterday, so when you execute it, you just come here and refresh. So when you click here, you refresh it. As you can see, it's refreshing. Just wait for it to finish. You see, we have this Hamad in here. So any database that you want to create, this is how you create the database. This is how you create the database. I showed you yesterday, believe me, I know you understand how to do it. So you can create as many database as you want. And there is this query that if you want to maybe see the uh, you want to use the database, let me say this, you want to use the database, then you have to use the query to call the database for you to use that database. So it's not just like, okay, maybe you are just going to start working with it without calling the database. You need to use that database. You need to put the query that will help you use the database. So let's see what database we are going to use. Let's see that. Let's see what database we are going to use. So we are going to use this this Hamad. That's the database we are going to use. So let's write the query for that. So let me try something. I know this is a query. Is this not show? What is this query? I know is it show us database completion? No, it's not. So let's use the use database. Then we put the name. So you write the name and put Hamad. This is the database we want to use. So now if I execute, we are going to use this database. Database Hamad already exists. Choose, okay, since I have this one, I already created that one. It said that to me. So let me just execute this one and then we are okay. Now, whatever we did, we are using this Hamad database. If we want to use any other database, we have one. I can just say we are using this one database. I will execute it. That means whatever we did under, now we are doing it. Even if we are creating a table, we are creating that table under this one because we create. We just say that we want to use that database. So we are just going to use this Hamad. That's what we are going to use. We are going to use Hamad. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to say Hamad. Then we execute it since it's the database that we want to use. So I believe you all know now how to create a database and how to call the database that you want to use. Please understand this. Before we move, what I'm going to show you is how to delete the database. Now we create database. So how are we going to remove the database? For example, we want to delete one database that we don't want to use it. So what are we going to do is just for us to call the database and remove it entirely. That's what we are going to do now. So to do that, we are going to use a query that is called drop. We're going to use a query that is called drop. That's the name of it. So when you put the drop and you put the database, you just say drop database, then the name of the database. The way we create it, we say create database, then we write the name. So if we want to delete it, we are going to say drop database, then we write the database that we want to drop. So we say drop database, then we say Hamad. So now if we execute this line alone, it's going to, okay, it's because it's currently in use. So let's just put this one. So let me delete this since it just applied the same query for us. So let me just execute it now. Drop Hamad. Okay, so let me use another one. Use one. So let me execute it. So now let me execute this one and I drop Hamad. So let me just drop it. So when you drop a database, it means you delete the database. It means you drop it, you remove it from the what? You remove it from the server. You are just dropping it, you are deleting it entirely. So now we drop this database. What's wrong? Cannot drop database, Ahmad, because it is currently in use. No, we don't want to use it. Okay, let's refresh it. I'm sorry. It's still running. I don't know why. Okay, let's just come out from this database. let's say use database. That's what we had made a mistake. I execute it. Use database one. I don't know why. Yeah, so now I want to drop this. It's work now, but I don't know why it didn't work before. I don't know. Now I drop a matter, but I have no idea why it didn't work. What happened? Is it from my system? Maybe I didn't. That why I'm just confused. I'm sorry. I don't know why it just did this. Is it from my, I don't know, but I believe this is how it's supposed to work. So that's why I'm just a little bit confused. I know if I use, since it is in use, if I stop using it, I can drop it, but it just keeps showing us the same something. But whatever. So please take note on these commands. I told you if you want to use a database, you use this. If you want to drop it, you use this. So now if I want to stop using this one, I'll just go ahead and use, for example, 3. This is the name of the database. It just show appear for me. I'll just write it, maybe this 3. So now if I drop this, I start using this 3, I can drop 1. So now I drop database 1. So you see, if I refresh here, I click here, definitely we don't have 1, we only have 2. So that's how you create database, use database, and also drop a database. So let's go back and see this again. Create database, then we call it Hamad again, then I execute. So it's okay, we create this and we're going to use it. Since we have different database, we need to call that this is the type of data, this is the name of database that we want to use. So I'm just going to say use Hamad, then I'll execute this line again. Sorry, I will highlight it alone and execute it. Because if I didn't highlight it and click execute, it's going to execute all the codes that are here for us. Please understand all this so that you will not get mistake while using that. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to create a table. That's what we are going to do now. We are going to create a table. How are we going to create a table? So like you call it, for example, you say, the way you said, create database, that's the same method we are going to use now to say create table. Then we name what we want to create. We name what we want to create. So we want to create a table. We are going to say create, just write it in capital letter, please. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to say create table. Then you name your table. You are to give it the name. What name do you want the table to have? You need to give it a name. Let's say we want to call this table, what do you want us to call it, please? Just give me something. We just want to call it something. Let's call it steps. Let me call it steps. Steps. That's the name of the table. That's the name of the table. So now, since we are creating a table, you know every table must have a columns. You know that already. Every column must have a columns. So we need to create columns in the table. So I think let's just list how we want to create the how we want to create, what are the columns we want to create. Let's just list the name so that we create the table based on the name. Let's just do that. Let's just do that. So now we are going to, for example, say we want to create, somebody should just write it in the chat so that we can follow from there. Let's say we want to create ID, or maybe you can say NIN number. Let's say we want to create NIN, the example that I gave you. Let's say we want to create NIN, full name, Somebody should just write it so that I just have it, then we follow it. I'm looking at the chat. So let's say we want to create NIN, full name, state, local government, department, and then salary. Yeah. And salary. Please, somebody should write it in the chat. So let's have it. Somebody should write it in the chat. NIN, full name. I didn't say gender. NIN, full name, gender. All this is your own. That's not what I mentioned. That's not what I said. What I said, you are going to create it based on the example I gave you. You are going to put NIN, full name, state, LGA, department, salary. That's what I said. NIN, full name, state, LGA, department, salary. So after salary, if you like, you can add gender. Yeah, NIN, full name, state, LGA, department, salary. You can add gender if you like. Just add gender if you like. So let's just create the table. So to create the table, when you put this, that is, we say table and we put the name of the table. So we are going to open brackets. That's what we are going to do next. We are going to open bracket and close bracket. So it is inside this open bracket and close bracket. After it, let's just put semicolon. It is inside this bracket. We are going to name what? We are going to name all the columns that we want in the table that we are going to create. So if you like, you can click enter and do whatever you want to do in here. The best syntax is just for you to come here and do it, or you can do it with one line. It's just the way people are doing it. Don't worry about that. So the first thing is you start with the column name. Put the column name followed by the data type of that column name. Please, that's it. Put column name followed by the data type. If you have a constraint, you put the constraint. If you don't have any constraint, you forget it. Then after it, you put comma and you press enter, you continue like that. That's how you create a columns. So the first column that we have is NIN. So the data type of NIN is what? Please, is it integer or character or varchar? What are we going to put? Let's just create the table together. What are we going to put? Tell me. Someone say int. NIN is not integer. It's not integer. We're not going to make it integer. You know, NIN is not integer. Someone say character. So yeah, let's use character. Let's put CAR. You see, immediately I put character, it turned into this. So I can put the number of characters that I want it to have. I can put any. Maybe how many number are in NIN? NIN must be 11 or 12. I don't know. I can't recall. Is it 11 or 12? Let's just put a character. Let's put 11. Do we have any constraint here? Yes. Not null. Then we want it to be primary key. That's two things that we want to put here now. So we put comma, then we press enter. We are going to write another one, which is what? Let me go up. Then we have full name. So for full name, we are going to say full name like this. And we call it varchar. And we make it, let's say, 50, because I don't think there is someone with more than 50 characters in his name. But if you like, put it 100 or you put it 255, whatever you want. Put it. Don't worry, varchar is not like that. And this one also, if we like, we can say not null. We don't want it to be missing. We want it to be not null also. Then we put comma. This is how we create this. Then, okay, so after full name, I said, if I can recall, I said state. Let me put it in capital letter, or we put it in small letter, since there is a state. Is state a command? It just turned into green. So let's just try and see. But we can use states now. So states, we can call it varchar. Then let's just put that, or 100, whatever. We can also know not null or whatever, we leave it like that. Then LGA, we call it that. Then we have salary. So for salary, we are going to to make it integer. So since we didn't create any integer, so post salary is going to be int. So we don't need to put anything for it since it's just int, but we can say not null. We don't want it to be null. Then gender, of course, I can just call it varchar. I'll just say 20, like that, don't worry. The last one is department. Varchar, then we call it this, like this. So I don't know if you understand all this, if you get how we are just creating this. So these are the columns that we want. These are the columns that we want. We want the column of name, full name, state. I don't know why this state is green. I think there is state command. Yeah, there is command that is state. So we need to make it state, of course. There is a command that's called that. That is a command, but let's just leave it like that. Or maybe we put let me try it with small letter. Whatever I try, it's going to give us this since there is already this. But let's just execute and see if it's going to create something for us. Let's execute. Let's execute and see. So now what we are going to do, we are just going to highlight all this since we already put the semicolon. Okay, here I have to close the last bracket since we have this one, so I have to close it. So let's just highlight this. Sorry, we need to highlight it up till this create table. We need to highlight it and execute. I'm not sure because of this state if we are going to get it correctly. I'm not sure, but let's just execute and see. Okay, yeah, command successfully, we execute. So let's refresh our database and see. Here it is. So under Hamad, do we have that table? Let's just click on this. Yeah, we have a table called stabs. This is the table. Look at it now. So we create this table called stab, and this is how we create this. So please learn this and learn how we create all this. And this is what the table, this is the table that we have. This is the table that we have in our SQL. Even though now we didn't insert anything in the table, don't worry about that. But we are done with the creating of table, and this is how you create a table. So now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to start inserting data, because I already told you we are going to insert data. We're going to insert data in it. Let's just insert the data. So let's just insert a data. So what we are going to do now is under insert. Let me explain this to you. When you are inserting data in SQL, make sure the data you are inserting, you put it accordingly. You put it the way you create the table. So when we are inserting the data, we are inserting the data based on, we're inserting the data based on name, followed by full name, followed by states, followed by, let me reduce this a little bit. Let me just make it 50%. Oh, it's supposed to be this. Okay. Enable, let me just move this result grid. It's under this view. Control Alt O. Yeah, so I don't need it. Of course. Just reduce it like this. So we are going to insert it based on name, full name, state, LGA, salary, gender, and department. That's how we are going to insert the data. So to insert the data into the table also, we are going to follow this. Don't worry, all this we are creating data because I'll just show you how to create data. I want you, when you go back today, please insert as much data as you like. Maybe 100 records, whatever you want. Just keep inserting the data. But let me show you how to insert the data, and we're going to view the data after we insert it also. So we are going to start with the insert. Let's just call it just insert into. Then you put the name of the table. That is, we have this table stabs. So insert into stabs. That's the name of our table. Insert into stabs. Then you declare the values. So after you just see, it just shows the name. So this is, then you will say values, because now we are inserting values in the what? In this stabs table. So we are going to say values. So after these values, then we are going to create open and close table like this. So let me explain. Inside this parenthesis, we are going to insert all our values. If it is string, you already know that we are putting it inside double quote. If it is integer, we don't need to put it inside double quote. You all know that. If it is plot, you put it, but we don't have any plot data type above. We don't have any. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to start entering the data based on the values that we want to insert. So the first one is nin. So we are going to write the nin. Nin, we want it to be inside double quote. So we can put a single quote or double quote. Let me just put anything. This is our nin, for example. Then you put comma when you are done with the nin. That's our nin. Then we followed by the full name. Full name also should be inside double quote. Then you write it. Let me just maybe write my name. Comma, then followed by what? Followed by state LGE salary. So let's continue state inside this. Then LGE, then salary. Salary is int, so we don't need to put it inside double quote. So we are going to write the salary. Let's just say 100,000, comma. So the last one is gender. Then it's supposed to be here like this, male, comma. Then what? Okay, is department. Okay, let me check. We have gender followed by the last one is department. So let's write department. So for the department, let's just call it data analytics. For example, let's just call it this. So when you create this, you are done with this data that you want to insert inside this particular table. So I just come here, then I'll put my semicolon at the end and I'll highlight it all. So if you like, you highlight it. Just go ahead and highlight this single column, because if I didn't highlight it, definitely is going to execute. I told you it's going to execute all the codes that I have here. Or if I want, I can delete all these codes and just continue from this insert. If I want, I can delete this one. Since I already execute them, I already create them, I can delete them. Now, if I execute, it will only execute this insert stabs values for us. So that's what it's going to do for us. So let's execute and see. Okay, let me just bring it up a little bit. You see, it just tells us one row affected. One row affected. So this is how it works. So now we insert data and we what? And we also we insert data inside our table, and you see how to do that. So if you like, you can insert another table. I can change this data again, and I can edit it and put another one that I want. I can create another data. So you can just keep doing that, keep doing that. That's how you are going to enter data the way you want. Or this table that I just create, this one, for example, cut it. After this value, just come down and paste it. So, but you need to put comma. It's only the last one that you are going to put semicolon at the last one. But if it is not the last one that you want to create, you don't need to put semicolon. You just put comma. For example, now I will create another one. I put this. I put comma again. I create another one. I put comma again. I create another one. I put comma again. So if I'm done with changes, maybe I change everything that I want. I'm going to change all this data. So if I'm done with the last one, then I will put the semicolon at the last one, then I will execute. So let's do that again. Let's just change everything here. Let's change it, and then we execute it and see. And I'm going to leave one blank. I'm going to leave one of it, maybe to see if it is going to tell us we cannot leave one of it to be blank or null or something like that. So let's see. So now I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this. Okay, we are changing everything. So I will delete this here. I will delete this here. I will delete this here. I will delete this. I will make this here like this. So I'm just creating data. We are just going to insert this. So let me just click anyone to be this. So for this Zampara, if you like, you can change it. Then leave this one this. So let's put anyone. Okay, sorry, let me drag it here. So we'll change the salary. So let's put 80 for this one. Let's put 900,000 for this one. Or let's make it looks reasonable. So this one should be 70. This one should be 80. So yeah, we didn't have any female. So don't worry, I'm just trying to just show you this. So software development. So let's create two software development. So I think that's all. So that's all. But if we like, we can remove this one. Let's remove this one and do it like this. So let's see. So let's execute this code. So let's click execute. Yeah. State one line, the number of columns per each row in a table value construction. So let's just see the A row is because I removed that one must be the same. So that we don't have, because of that that issue, there is no way we can have, we remove that one that I removed. That is, we didn't get this, don't have this. So let me just copy this and paste it. Let me change the number. Okay, it's just copy. Okay, let me paste it here and change the number. So now let's execute and see. So now 4 rows affected. So now we have 4 rows from this. So now if we like, we can view our data. We can view our data if we want. So I can delete this one if I want, because I don't want the data. For example, I'm done with it. So I can just maybe view what we have. So I can say select. Don't worry about this. I will talk about this select some that, but okay, let me discuss it. Select is, if you want to select a particular table, you want to view the data of that particular table, you use a select function for that, a command for that. And this asterisk that I put is just to tell you that you are selecting the entire data. That's, it stands for all. Whenever you see asterisk, select asterisk in SQL, it means select all. Then we are going to talk about this from also, since I'm going to show you the data now. So from is just, you need to give the name of the table that you want to select all its data. So now I say select all from, so I'm going to write the name of the table. We know the name of the table is tabs. Then I end it with semicolon and what I execute. So when we execute, look at what we have now. Look at it here. This is what we have. Let me, sorry, let me take this up and zoom the result. Okay, not here. I want us to zoom this. Okay, let me just increase it a little bit for you. Okay, so this is the result of what we did. This is the result. We just got the result, and this is it. Okay, let me increase it. Okay, I can't increase the result. It's supposed to be increased. Since it's 400, I can't increase it. So this is the data. Look at it here. I believe you can see it. I can't zoom it because I already zoomed this. So I zoom it already. I just try to not work. But this one I can zoom, but this one I can't. But I can only zoom this. You see, I can zoom this out, but I can't zoom that because I zoom it already. So this is the result. Look at the data that we insert. Look at this. All these are the data that we have. These are data that we have. So let's, for example, like I said, let's try and insert something. Let's try and insert a null and see if the data can take a null data. Let's see that. Let me show that to you. So let me create another table. Let's see, insert into steps values. Then I'll open this and close. So now I'll put the values here. So I'll say, if I want it to remain null, I'll just put comma and ignore it. So for example, we have nin. So for nin, let me just put the nin. Let me put any number for the nin, comma. Then for the full name, I'm going to just put comma. Since we want it to be null, so I'm just going to put comma. Then for the states, I'm going to say, for example, I'll just put comma. Let's just put comma. LGA, I'll put comma. Salary, I'll put comma. Gender, maybe I'll put female. Then for the department, I'll put data analytics. So some of these commands, understand this. If when we create the table, when we create our table, we didn't tell them to, they shouldn't, the constraint is not null for each of them. We just put no comma, comma of this. These are just the syntax of the table. So nin and that I followed it. So now if we didn't put not null, it's going to be blank. It will carry it. But if we put not null for it, it will not carry it. It's going to give us error. So let's execute and see. You see, incorrect syntax. This command that we just put, okay, sorry, state one. So for the state one, okay, let me see. State one, so let's just put this, I'm sorry. Okay. So let me execute it again. Okay, sorry. Did I make a mistake? Let me zoom it out, please. I'm sorry. Let me zoom it out and see something. Okay, no. Okay, so let me say, let me put this and put this. Let me just do this. Okay, one row affected. So let me show the table and see. Okay, so while creating our table, so let me do this. Let me execute this. Yeah, we cannot execute this. Why? Because we put unique key. Okay, all this I'll talk about it tomorrow. Don't worry. I don't want to put a lot of things on you. Don't worry. You see, it's a primary key. We cannot have two double primary keys in the data. So let me put another to distinct it. Let me execute again. So yeah, strange or binary data will be truncated in table amar column nin. Truncated, don't worry. The statement has been terminated. All affected because of this. Yeah. So now look at it now. Look at what we just did. Look at it. For these tables that I just put this double quote, just bracket like that, there is nothing in it. We create these empty spaces from it. We create empty spaces. We are going to have a command that is going to, when we want to just maybe extract not null, or we want to remove not null and whatever, we are going to use that command that will extract or that will remove any column that is not null for us. That we are going to do that, and we're going to get that. So understand it from here now that you know how to insert the data. You know that a primary data, we cannot put it again, because since we already put this one, if I try to execute this again, it will just give us a row because of this primary key. We have a constraint on it. As you can see, we cannot put it as a duplicate. We cannot have it as a duplicate. So understand that. Let me do this like this. I think it's supposed to also give us an arrow of this. Supposed to give us arrow. Yeah, incorrect syntax. It will not take this because if we declared a not null. That way it just put this incorrect syntax. But there is one of it that we have. We didn't put not null for it. Okay, I didn't put it at the end. Let me just try it and see. Yeah, this cannot be. Okay, let me show the table and see. Okay, yeah. So this is it. I think let's just stop here so that you can practice. What I want you to practice is to learn how to create the database, to learn how to insert, how to use the database, to learn how to create a table, and to learn how to insert data into the tables. So any other things, all this select all from stuffs, I just did it for me to show you what we just insert. So please, if you like, just insert all the data that you want, maybe 100 of it, just keep creating it and you understand how it works. Then tomorrow we continue from it. And look at how our result looks like. This data that we just create, look at our columns. We have this is our columns. And we also have, you see, this is just a unique value. That way it creates a serial number for us. It creates this. And of course, I'm going to show you how we are going to use this also. We're going to use this. So by default, it just creates a serial number of 1, 2, 3. We have 7 records now, but don't worry about this because it just created for us automatically. So try as much as you can to insert at least 50, 100, whatever you want. Just try as much as you can to create that and write it on your own and insert it there. So tomorrow we're going to start viewing the data. We are going to start understanding the data. We are going to start counting the data. Maybe how many males do we have? How many females? How many days? Total of salary, highest salary, maximum. We are just going to learn that and to learn how to do all such calculation and to start knowing how to extract the type of data we need. And we are going to create that second table that I explained. We're going to create that second table. Or if you like, create that second table. It just be a homework for you. Just create that second table in your data, in your server. The second column, like I told you, is going to take, what did I say in the second table? It's going to take BBN. BBN will be the primary key. Please, BBN will be the primary key. Then BBN is going to be the primary key. Then we need to have BBN. Okay, let's say BBN, account number, bank name, then NIN. That's what we need to have in the next table. Please create this for us. Create this for us. So create it for yourself, then because when we practice tomorrow, you also practice with it tomorrow. So you create BBN. BBN should be the primary key, followed by bank name, account number, bank name, then NIN. That's the table, the second table you are going to create. So you can call the second table maybe staff's details, or you can call it staff's, or you can call it details. You can just call it details if you like. So you create that second table. So tomorrow, if you come back, we are going to use, we are going to work on it. Even though it's not tomorrow, we are going to start working with the two tables, but just create it in case so that it will be a practice and homework for you. So please, if you have a question, you ask. If you have any question, you ask, depending related to what we did today, so that tomorrow we continue from where we stop and keep seeing what we are having. You see, one thing about this SQL, one single error is going to make your codes not to work. One single error is not going to work unless you rectify the error or unless you correct the error. That when it will work. So please understand this and follow what we did. Don't get confused about other things that I tried to do. Please don't get confused on them. Focus on what we did. What I want you to learn today is for you to learn how to create the database. That is for you to understand first of all, for you to understand the constraints, for you to understand the SQL statements, for you to understand how to create database, how to use the database, how to create a tables, and how to insert data inside such tables. So this is what you should focus more on. So tomorrow we continue from there. So if you have anything, please, you ask. If you don't have any question, then we call it a day. Please, do you have any question? Please, do you have any question? Y- yes. Yes, we can edit it if we want. We can edit it because we can modify the data, we can modify the table, we can modify everything that we want to do, we can modify it. And we are going to discuss that also. We can modify everything. We can update the data in the table. We can update the name of the table. We can update anything that we want to update, we can update it. So don't worry about now. Just like I said, understand how to do this, how to create this. We are going to learn all such modifications, changing, updating, deleting, removing, and whatever we are going to do that. We just try to understand that before we continue. Yeah, but for now, understand this. This thing that we just did now, even if I close my SQL now, if I close it and open it, it will still remain on our server. You only extract the file. You only extract your project. If you want to save your queries, you only did that when you want to use them in another computer or something like that. But whatever we are doing now is saved in our system already. So if I want, I will just close. Now, if I close it now, as you can see, I just click on close. If I close it now, if I come back tomorrow, or maybe let me just close it and show you something. I just click on close. I don't know why it didn't close. It's just because of. So if you like, just click yes. That is to just save the changes of the queries and save it anywhere you want to save it. Yes, save it anywhere you want to save it. But these queries, if I don't want to save the queries, I don't want to save the queries. I don't want it. I'll just say no. Please, saving queries is different from saving the database. So now I don't want to save the queries. So let me open it again and connect so that if we open it again and let's see if we can see what we did. Yes, I'm doing all this. You don't need internet to use SQL. You don't need internet. Everything that we are doing, we don't need internet. It's just because of this SQL, this class that we are connected with SQL. You don't need SQL to do this. That's why you downloaded a server. You are using pre-server to do this. So let me just connect. So now I'm connected. So you don't need it. Let me check. Let me show you this. You see, we already have Hamad. You see, under tables, we already have that stats table. That stats tables is still here. So if I click a query now, I say select all. I want to select the data in our stats table. Let me show it to you. Select all from stats. Okay, first of all, I need to use that database that we want to use. So just use stats database stats. Okay, I don't need to put database, sorry. Just execute stab, use tabs Okay, okay, it's not the data. Sorry, the name of the database is Hamad. I'm sorry. So command executed. So I'm going to say select all from tabs. So let me just execute it. That's the name of the table. You see, it just brings what we just did. So you don't need internet one. You don't need to save two, unless you want to save the queries that you just create. Maybe you create a very complex query, then you save to your queries. Then when you come back, then you continue from there. So that's all. There is no connection. It's using that express server that you used. That's your connection. You don't need internet. You don't need internet to do that. So I think I respond to your question. Muaz Ali, you are saying, sir, is it using network connection for? It's using the network connection that we just created. I just show you this. Let me close it and open it again. That SQL Express server that you just connected is your database, and it's everything that is. You don't need connection to do that. You don't need that. You are just doing your work. You see, this is it. You look at it now. This is the database. And that why you remove this, you just make it trust server. You just didn't use any this is the connection. That one when you connect is to show connected. Please do you understand? This is how you log in. It's like you are now you connected it. You don't need internet. Now you are connected. When I click connected, it authenticate everything. Now we are connected. So if I close this network, I remove my internet access, we will continue writing our queries. That's one thing about SQL. I told you, you can even use your mobile phone and download SQL. This thing, there is SQL software that you can even go ahead and start writing queries, and it will execute the queries for you. Even with your mobile phone, you don't need internet, you just do that. So try as much as you can to practice this that we just did. Please practice this so that you will not get confused. If you have any question, please you ask. If you don't have any question, we call it a day. Please, if you have a question, please. Is it necessary to execute each step before you finish all your queries? Yes, it's necessary unless you want to create because if each step you need to execute it. You need to execute it for it to apply each step, each step, each step. But if you like, allow it when you finish everything, then you click on it. Because the reason why you need to execute each step is because immediately you have error in it, you correct it. Because if you create multiple steps and you have error in first step, all the steps are not going to work. So it can be a very difficult task for you to debug all the errors that you got in the statement. So I recommend just execute each step. When you write a step, I recommend you highlight the line alone, execute it first. Then you continue, you highlight that one, you execute it first. Then you continue like that. Maybe at the end of the day, you can see what you write by yourself. You can even copy it, save it, do whatever you want with it. But execute each query, please. When you write a query, execute it to make sure it's working. Then you move. That's how you create it. Please ask your question if you have. If you don't, we call it a day. It's getting late, 10:30. Please, if you have a question, you ask. If you don't, we call it a day. No any question, right? Okay. So thank you so much. I think we meet tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Yeah, I say F5 for execution. Yeah, if F5 didn't work, then you click on F function key F5. Because some keyboards F5 will not work, you know it. So function key F5, it will work. Yeah. So yeah, that's the shortcut key for execution. So thank you so much. I think there is no any question. So let's just call it a day. See you tomorrow. We continue from where we stop. Bye bye.